5 in the morning on KTRS.
7:52 tonight on World News, ABC's World News, and more on Dateline. Brian Ross has a pretty disturbing story about black lung and what is it not being diagnosed and what is being diagnosed. Brian Ross with ABC News. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, McGraw. And it's a story that took us from coal country right to the country's top hospital, Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. We discovered that the hospital and one particular doctor there has become an important ally in the coal company's very successful battles in fighting the miners for their rights. And this is a doctor who, in 1,500 cases that we examined going back 10 years, never found a single miner with black lung. It's always something else, never black lung. And in looking further, we discovered that about 100 of those miners had since died, and their autopsies all showed they did have black lung, despite what the Hopkins doctor said. There's something very disturbing about what's going on here. The companies are saving millions of dollars thanks to the very favorable rulings they're getting from Johns Hopkins, which raises questions about Hopkins, which, of course, is considered one of, if not the top hospital in the country.
No question about it. Why did these people go to Johns Hopkins? It seems like
they don't go. What happens is the miners apply for benefits, and the companies are allowed to have their own doctors. So they get a doctor from Hopkins to come in, and it knocks out the rulings by the local doctors in West Virginia or Kentucky, wherever they are. And the prestige of Hopkins allows them to carry the day. And they pay the doctors at Hopkins. They pay Hopkins about 10 times the standard amount for reading each X-ray and testifying in court. And this doctor actually is so far outside the mainstream that he believes black lung has disappeared, and the evidence flatly contradicts that. It's actually on the rise among younger miners. He believes it hasn't existed since World War II. And I asked him, has he ever been in a coal mine? And his answer was he's been in the coal mine at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. That's his only coal mine. That's just an exposition.
You also had a chance to talk with Senator Rockefeller?
Senator Rockefeller calls it a disgrace. He thinks this doctor should be booted off the staff at Hopkins, where his wife actually serves on the board.
That's a pretty crazy story you have there, Brian Ross.
It's unbelievable. I was stunned to see the statistics, and it really was the people at the Center for Public Integrity who pulled together, looking at all these cases over the last year. It took a long time, but really it's a powerful indictment of what's been going on. And once again, of course, miners are got the deck stacked against them. They say, the doctors are bought and paid for it. No surprise to them, but it was a surprise to me.
Have you talked to anybody else at Johns Hopkins?
Well, we talked to this doctor. He sat down for a lengthy interview, which he, essentially, whenever I asked him questions about other doctors calling him intellectually dishonest or not current, all he could say was, I went to Harvard and they did not. That's his position, that his credentials outweigh everybody else's. And
what are the numbers? The guy's been doing this for 10 years?
Well, he's been doing it for decades, but we got records since 2000, year 2000. For the last 13 years, with 1,573 cases, not a single time, not one, did he find the kind of black lung that would allow these miners to get benefits.
So what are they?
Something else.
So miners, are they? What's happening to this doctor? Are they filing suit against this guy?
The doctor is in good stead, and the miners have been denied their benefits, and they're living in abject poverty, having difficulty breathing because they're so ugly. It grabs your chest and your lungs and shrinks the lungs, frankly, and scars them so they can't really breathe. They're in oxygen tanks, and some of them, they were receiving temporary benefits, but after the Hopkins rulings, they were forced to pay back what they'd already received, thousands of dollars. So this has disrupted lives across coal country. It's not widely known, and it took a lot of time for us to pull it all together. And to go up against Hopkins and a prominent doctor is no easy task, but that's what we're doing tonight on World News and on Nightline.
All right, so Brian Ross is going to be tonight on ABC News, World News, and then more on Nightline?
That's right, exactly.
All right, Brian Ross, great job as always. Thanks for giving us a heads up.
Thanks, McGraw, for having me. I appreciate it.
You got it. Brian Ross with us, ABC News chief investigative correspondent. Unbelievable story.
That really is unbelievable, how one doctor can have so much power.
And it's at Johns Hopkins.
Yes. I mean, world-renowned.
Yeah, you don't get any higher or more prestigious than Johns Hopkins.
Yeah. You would think in this day and age that they would have better preventative measures for these coal miners, when they
That's
are
a great
working
point.
years, decades in the coal mines, and they're still getting black lung.
That's a great point. You know, when you're working around asbestos, you have to wear all sorts of
Right.
hazmat suits and filters and masks and everything else. But these miners seem to be getting black lung at a younger age.
Yes, they are.
Sad story. All right, that's ABC News World News Tonight with Brian Ross.